65 years of scars weighed on my shoulders as I stood in the dim parlor, the air heavy with grief and something sharper, deceit. My mother-in-law's casket lay still, a silent anchor amid whispered condolences, but my eyes were locked. On my wife, Ellen, her face a mask of secrets. Across the room, my brother, Nathan, drew her aside, his hand lingering too long, his gaze too intimate for mourning. My heart stuttered. In a moment meant for farewell, betrayal slithered into view. What do you do when the sacred crumbles under suspicion? I once believed love was a fortress, unyielding, built on vows etched in stone. For decades, Ellen was my sanctuary, her laughter a beacon through war's shadows. Yet, in that chilled room, with the scent of fading lilies clinging to the drapes, doubt crept in. Each step toward them felt like crossing a minefield, every unspoken word a spark. Why, in a place meant to honor the departed, did I sense my world fracturing? It wasn't just their closeness, it was the instinct honed in battle, stirring now, warning of danger. Ellen, her silver hair framing a face I thought I knew, seemed diminished, her eyes hiding something. Fear, shame, or a truth buried for years. Nathan, with his familiar sly grin, murmured words that made her hands quiver. Have you ever wondered which cuts deeper, a betrayal unveiled or the realization it's been there all along, mocking your trust? I could have stormed across the room, demanded answers, but hesitation gripped me, perhaps the weight of watchful eyes, or the fear I'd misread the moment. What if I was wrong? Or worse, what if I was right, and this was merely the surface of a deeper wound, one that would unravel my life, my marriage, my kin? The funeral wasn't about loss anymore. It was about what was slipping away inside me. Would you stand by, knowing each second might shatter your foundation? Stay with me. This tale isn't what it seems. Every detail I share is a thread in a tapestry that only reveals its pattern at the end. Miss one, and you'll never grasp why the parlor's silence roared louder than any cry. What was Ellen concealing? What did Nathan want? And why, even now as I recount this, does the truth feel like it's still lurking, waiting to strike? Are you ready to uncover what unfolded, or will you turn away before the curtain falls? This story begins in a moment of fracture, but it's not about the break. It's about what lies beneath. The parlor, with its stifled sobs and veiled glances, was merely the stage. Ellen and Nathan, my anchors, were now my questions. As a soldier, I'd faced enemies, but none as elusive as doubt. Let's step into that night, where every whisper held a blade, and every truth demanded a price. The parlor's air was thick, laced with the cloying scent of flowers and unspoken grief. I stood, a weathered veteran at 65, my gaze fixed on Ellen. Her face, etched with years of shared dreams, was pale, her eyes glued to her mother's casket. Then Nathan, my brother, approached, his touch too familiar, his stare too deliberate. My soldier's instincts flared, a silent alarm screaming betrayal. What do you do when treachery taints a moment of reverence? I remembered Ellen at 25, her smile a lifeline in war's chaos. She was my vow of peace, my reason to endure. For 30 years we'd weathered storms, but now she seemed distant, a stranger cloaked in sorrow. Nathan, ever the charmer where I was duty-bound, whispered, to her each word a crack in our bond. I couldn't stand idle. Ellen, I called, my voice slicing through the room's hum. She turned, eyes wide, but faltered. I stepped forward, the floor creaking, the mourner's silence heavy. Anger surged, but discipline held me. Nathan, back off, I commanded, crossing the room. He raised his hands, that boyish grin flashing. Easy, brother, just talking, he said. Talking, with touches that didn't belong. Ellen looked away, hands trembling. ignoring the curious stares. I took her arm, gentle yet firm. Outside. Now, I said, guiding her to the door. She resisted briefly but followed. The night's chill bit, and I knew answers were near. What's going on? I asked, searching for the woman I'd loved for decades. Under the gray sky, Ellen shivered, not just from cold. It's not what you think, she said, eyes glistening. Not what I think. Then why was Nathan so close? I deserve the truth, I pressed, hands on her shoulders. She inhaled sharply. Nathan knows something about my mother. My mind froze. Her mother. What does he know? I demanded, voice tightening. Ellen's gaze dropped. He's pushing me. Wants me to stay silent. Pushing her. Blackmailing my wife at her mother's funeral. Fury rose, but so did confusion. Tell me, Ellen. Don't leave me blind. Her hesitation hinted at a secret that could shatter us. I returned to the parlor, my thoughts a battlefield. Nathan chatted with a cousin, his charm a mask. I locked eyes with him, ignoring the crowd. What are you playing at with her? My voice was low, lethal. He laughed, but his eyes flickered. You're always so suspicious, he said, but I didn't budge. Stay away from my wife, I warned, each word a line in the sand. He shrugged, but his hand twitched. I needed clarity now. Ellen lingered near the exit, eyes red, as if she'd wept alone. Talk to me, I pleaded, my voice cracking. She met my gaze. It's about my mother. Nathan knows something she hid. What would you do if your family harbored secrets so heavy? In a quiet corner of the parlor, away from prying eyes, Ellen's voice trembled. Nathan says my mother left something. A truth I shouldn't know, she whispered. A truth. My mother-in-law, always so reserved, had secrets. What does he want? I asked, my mind racing. Ellen swallowed hard. He wants me to shield him. Keep it quiet. Shield him. From what? I clasped her hand, grounding her. Ellen, you don't owe him silence. Tell me everything. Her eyes held fear and resolve. It's about my mother and Nathan. They were involved. Involved? My heart stopped. My mother-in-law and my brother. Shock hit like a grenade. The woman who bound our family with Nathan? When? I asked, voice hoarse. Ellen exhaled. Since our wedding, and there's more. More? My chest tightened. She ended it, but Nathan never let go. He's held it over me. Held it over her? Blackmailing Ellen with a decades-old affair? Rage surged fiercer now. Why? What's he after? I pressed. Ellen paused. Money. Inheritance. Whatever my mother left. Money? My brother, stooping so low? Betrayal cut deeper than any wound. How could he? I stormed back to the parlor, eyes fixed on Nathan. His smile faltered under my glare. I pulled him into a deserted hallway away from the mourners. An affair with her mother? I demanded, no preamble. He froze, face paling. Who told you? He muttered, but I cut him off. Ellen. And now you're threatening her? My voice was steel. Nathan tried to laugh, but it was hollow. You don't get it, brother. It was love. Love? That excused nothing. You're extorting my wife, I said, stepping closer. He backed up, hands raised. Easy. I just wanted what's mine. Mine? His greed sickened me. I had to stop him. The hallway's silence was suffocating. You're done, I said, finger jabbing his chest. Or I expose you, right now. Nathan swallowed, his charm crumbling. You wouldn't, he said, voice shaky. Try me, I shot back, eyes boring into his. He wavered, then relented. Fine, I'll stop. But I didn't trust him. I returned to Ellen, who waited, eyes pained. He admitted it, I said, sitting beside her. an affair, and blackmail. She nodded, relieved but wounded. I didn't want you to know, she murmured. Why had she borne this alone? I took her hand, feeling the warmth that always steadied me. We face this together, I vowed. But Nathan's betrayal still burned. He won't touch you again, I said, voice resolute. Ellen squeezed my hand, and I saw the woman I loved resurface, though scarred. I just wanted to spare you, she said. Spare me? That broke my heart. I glanced at Nathan, now avoiding my gaze. This wasn't over. He'd pay, but justly. The parlor, with its muted grief, bore witness to a truth unveiled. What would you do with a betrayal so ancient? I gathered Ellen and a few close kin in a secluded corner of the parlor. Nathan has something to say, I declared, voice carrying enough to draw eyes. He stiffened, but the stares pinned him. Speak, I ordered, arms crossed. Nathan hesitated, sweat beading on his brow. I made mistakes, he began, voice low. With Ellen's mother years ago. A gasp rippled through the group. Ellen gripped my hand, her strength returning. And I pressured Ellen because of it, he confessed, eyes downcast. The admission lifted a burden but opened a wound. Our family would never be the same. As kin reacted, shock, anger, sorrow, I kept Ellen close. You did right, she whispered, and I nodded. But Nathan wouldn't walk away unscathed. You'll return any money you tried to take, I said, staring him down, and apologize, properly. He nodded, defeated, and I felt a bitter relief. The truth was bare, but the pain lingered. Ellen looked at me, gratitude in her eyes. Thank you for standing by me, she said. Stand by her? Always. But how do you mend a family torn by such an old secret? I returned to the parlor's heart, where my mother-in-law's casket rested. The woman who linked us had her shadows, but they didn't dim her legacy. Ellen stood beside me, and together we faced the mourners' gazes. We'll get through this, I promised, voice steady. She nodded, our bond tightening. Nathan, now isolated, seemed diminished. His charm faded. He'd face consequences, not just from kin, but from his own guilt. The parlor, with its flickering candles, marked the end of a secret and the start of a new fight. But with Ellen, I was ready. The mourner's whispers faded as I reflected on the night. Nathan's confession hung like smoke, heavy but clearing. Ellen's hand in mine was a reminder of why I fought, not just for truth, but for us. My mother-in-law's affair, Nathan's greed, had tested us, but we stood firm. Have you ever faced a revelation that shook your core, only to find it forged you stronger? I glanced at Ellen, her eyes no longer clouded but fierce. The weight of her mother's past, Nathan's schemes, hadn't broken us, it shaped us. My mother-in-law, flawed as she was, taught us that we're all light and dark, choices and regrets. In war, I learned the real battle is within, and victory isn't destroying the foe but rebuilding what they tried to take. With Ellen, I chose to rebuild. What do you rebuild when betrayal tries to tear you apart? Nathan's words lingered in the parlor, his admission a wound laid bare. I held Ellen's hand, her warmth grounding me as kin dispersed, some stunned, others quiet. The secret, my mother-in-law's affair with Nathan, his attempt to exploit it, was out, raw and undeniable. But standing with Ellen, I saw that truth isn't an endpoint. It's a path. Every fight I'd endured, every vow I'd kept, taught. Me love isn't painless. It's the strength to push through. Have you faced a truth so heavy it reshaped you? Ellen's grip tightened, her eyes, once veiled, now blazing with resolve. Her mother's burden, Nathan's manipulation, hadn't defeated us. They refined us. My mother-in-law, with her hidden flaws, left more than a scandal, She left a lesson. We're all a mix of virtue and error. I'd learned in battle that the true war is internal, and triumph comes not from erasing pain, but from building anew. With Ellen, I chose to build. What do you create when the past tries to break you? Nathan, now a shadow of himself, stood alone, his charisma extinguished. His confession didn't heal all wounds, but it brought clarity, like dawn after a storm. I looked at Ellen, the woman who'd shielded me even at her own cost. Her mother, in her final rest, showed that secrets don't define us. Our choices do. We chose honesty, and with it, renewal. When did you last choose truth, knowing it would sting? As mourners bid farewell to the casket, I let go of a myth, that love is untouchable, that kin are immune to deceit. Every step I took, every truth I demanded, was a testament to faith in redemption. Life, like war, demands bravery to face what wounds us. We're all warriors, shaped by hidden burdens, but it's in unveiling them that we rise above pain. Ellen. And I left the parlor hand in hand, not as victims, but as architects of a new dawn. What burden do you carry that needs facing to begin again? The parlor's candles flickered, a silent witness to our trial. Nathan's downfall was his own making, but ours was a story of resilience. Ellen's courage, her choice to trust me with the truth, rekindled what doubt had dimmed. My mother-in-law's legacy wasn't her mistake, but the family she built, flawed yet enduring. We stepped into the night, the weight of secrets lifted, ready to forge ahead. What do you forge when the truth sets you free? The parlor's hush followed us outside, where the night air stung with clarity. Ellen's hand in mine was a lifeline, her eyes reflecting a strength I'd always cherished. Nathan's betrayal, his affair with her mother, his greed, had shaken us, but it hadn't won. We stood together, not broken, but tempered. Have you ever found that a wound, once faced, becomes a cornerstone? I thought of Ellen in our youth, her laughter a melody against war's din. 30 years of shared trials had bound us, and now, this test. Her silence had been her shield, protecting me from pain. But her trust in me now was our victory. My mother-in-law's secret, though jarring, reminded me that no one is without fault. We're all stories of grace and error, and it's in owning both that we grow. What story do you own that's ready to be told? Nathan's confession had stripped his facade, leaving him small, a man undone by his choices. Justice wasn't in his shame, but in our choice to rise above it. Ellen and I faced the mourner's whispers, not as victims, but as partners. Her mother's casket, a symbol of loss, also marked a turning point, a chance to rebuild. When did a loss in your life spark a new beginning? We returned to the parlor where the air felt lighter, as if truth had cleared the haze. I looked at Ellen, her face no longer shadowed but radiant. Nathan's schemes had tested our bond, but they'd also proved its strength. My mother-in-law, in her imperfections, had given us this, a family worth fighting for. We're all soldiers, in our own wars, and the greatest battles are for trust, for love, for truth. What battle are you fighting to reclaim what matters? As we stood by the casket, I vowed to Ellen, we'll rebuild stronger. She nodded, her grip firm. Nathan, now a bystander in our story, would face his reckoning, not through vengeance, but through the life we'd create without his shadow. The parlor, with its solemn glow, was no longer a place of fracture, but of renewal. We'd faced the truth and chosen each other. What do you choose when the truth lays everything bare? The parlor's silence was no longer oppressive, but a canvas for what came next. Ellen and I stood together, her hand a steady pulse against mine. Nathan's betrayal, her mother's secret, had been a storm, but we'd emerged not as wreckage, but as builders. Have you ever found that the hardest truths carve the deepest strength? I saw Ellen as she was decades ago, her eyes bright with hope. That hope lived now, undimmed by pain. Her mother's affair, Nathan's greed had been heavy. But they'd taught us that love isn't flawless, it's resilient. We're all woven from triumphs and mistakes, and it's in embracing both that we find meaning. What meaning have you found in your own imperfections? Nathan, now a figure of pity, had lost more than he'd sought. His confession was a mirror, reflecting his own ruin. Ellen and I, though, were more than our wounds. Her mother's legacy wasn't her secret, but the family she'd nurtured, one we'd now redefine. In war, I'd learned that victory is in perseverance, not perfection. We'd persevered. What do you persevere through to find your victory? As the mourners drifted away, I let go of an illusion. That love is immune to betrayal. Every truth we'd faced was a step toward renewal. We're all shaped by what we hide, but freed by what we reveal. Ellen and I stepped into the night, not as survivors, but as creators of a new chapter. What chapter are you ready to write? The parlor, with its fading light, was a testament to our journey. Nathan's fall, Ellen's courage, her mother's hidden past, they were threads in a story of redemption. We chose truth, and with it, a future. What future do you choose when the past is laid bare? The night air was crisp as Ellen and I left the parlor, the weight of secrets lifted. Nathan's betrayal, his affair with her mother, his attempt to profit from it, had been a blade, but it hadn't severed us. Instead, it sharpened our resolve. Have you ever found that a betrayal once faced becomes a catalyst for growth? Thought of Ellen in our early days, her laughter a promise of peace. That promise held, not because we were flawless, but because we were steadfast. Her mother's secret, though painful, showed that no one is without shadows. We're all stories of light and fault, and it's in weaving them together that we endure. What story do you weave from your own light and shadow? Nathan's confession had stripped him bare, a man diminished by his greed. But Ellen and I, we were forged anew. Her mother's casket wasn't just an end, it was a beginning. In battle, I'd learned that the truest victories are in rebuilding, not destroying. With Ellen, I rebuilt trust, love, a future. What do you rebuild when the truth clears the rubble? As we walked away, the parlor's glow faded, but our path was clear. We'd faced betrayal, unearthed secrets, and chosen each other. My mother-in-law's legacy wasn't her mistake, but the family she'd shaped, one we'd now strengthen. We're all warriors, carrying burdens that define us, but it's in confronting them that we rise. What burden will you confront to rise? This story isn't just ours, it's yours. If it stirred you, carry it forward. Face your truths, however daunting. Share this tale with someone who needs courage. The parlor taught us that truth liberates, but only if you embrace it. Are you ready to take that step and build something that echoes beyond the silence? Ellen and I moved into the night, hand in hand, not as relics of pain, but as architects of hope. The secrets we'd faced were no longer chains, but keys to a stronger bond. Life, like war, is a series of battles, but the greatest is for love, for truth, for renewal. What will you fight for to find your own renewal?